what we're seeing now is we're seeing clearly who is above the law. There are people that can do whatever the fuck they want. We're seeing it now. It used to be a myth, conspiracy theory, but we're seeing it now. Who is above the law? With all this is going on with Epstein and all that, and we're seeing how the media is backing them up too. How interesting is that? If that's all just a distraction to like get people arguing, make it so obvious that it wasn't a suicide. It's so obvious. Let's release it, make it so obvious. Meanwhile, he's still alive, and everyone's trying to figure out how he died, and all they care about is that he's dead. There's virtually a media blackout on it for the longest time, but they gotta talk about something, because the longer the mainstream media doesn't talk about it, the more obvious it looks, and it's waking everybody up. You know how many people who are super anti-conspiracy theorists, they're all into Epstein now. It's like when 9/11 happened, that woke up a lot of people. 9/11 woke people up. A lot of people say, well, it started with 9/11. A lot of people are going to say it started with Jeffrey Epstein. People that hate conspiracy theorists are all into it. They're all,
Michael Shermer.
I'm so balls deep, and there's a guy on YouTube who every day he puts out, all he does is, he's written books on gangsters and all that. And every day he puts out an Epstein video, an update, and he just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. His name is Sean Atwood.
What's the update every day, though?
Dude, it would take me 2 hours to go into. It's really all about Ghislaine Maxwell's father. He was the one who was originally doing what Epstein was doing. Epstein started banging Ghislaine. She takes him. She goes, you know what? You're going to take over the family business. The family business is not just blackmailing the elite. That's a part of it. But a big part of it, right? You know what? Part of it, dude. Her father, he's the one. Robert Maxwell. That guy was dude. I think they're just distracting everybody. It wasn't a suicide. The amount of deception that's shoved down our throats. It's obvious now. It's all out in the open. So any plausible theory, you can't laugh at.
Dude, out of all the information that's getting disclosed, supposedly this administration, what do you have the least faith that we're going to come to
Epstein,
a conclusion?
for sure.
Epstein.
And I think it's because of Israel. I think when you really dig into Epstein, his entire network was Israel. It was clearly. Like Ehud Barak was the ex-prime minister and the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. Leslie Wexner was one of the most powerful pro-Israeli philanthropists. The whole organization was Israel. And I'm not saying it was all of Israel.
It was all an intelligence gathering and
it was targeting Americans. It was targeting American officials and the American president. Right. And the CIA does have interest in those targets too. Elements in the CIA does. Certainly they had help from the CIA, and certainly they had help from these other organized crime and intelligence operations. But you don't, so for example, Dan Bongino, the new, deputy director of the FBI, he recently had this clip that went all around where he said on camera that he had a source that he trusted deeply. And he's an informed guy. He was at a Fox News interview, and the source told him that Epstein was working for an intelligence agency in the Middle East. And I don't know which one, but someone in the Middle East. And to be fair, we all already knew this. We already know who he worked for. At least I think so. But I'm looking at, okay, Dan, so if this giant group of Jewish billionaires is running a sex trafficking operation targeting American politicians and business people and stuff, you think they're working with an Arab or Muslim nation in the Middle East? Like, you think that Leslie Wexner is devoting his entire life to philanthropies on behalf of Israel, but then he's going to work for Saudi Arabia when he's doing this trafficking ring?
Right. But if someone says to him that they're all working for a country in the Middle East, knowing he knows what that means, but not specifying, doesn't he kind of have to repeat it that same way?
Well, he also has to repeat it the same way because he won't get the job if he says Israel. Exactly. Because Israel has so much control over our government right now. And I'm not saying that all Jews are in on something. Clearly, internet. Thank you. Internet. And Joe is definitely not saying that.
Definitely not.
But Israel's government is every bit as vulnerable to the deep state effect as the American government. But I would argue that Israel's government is way more vulnerable to it because of the people that founded Israel and the way it was founded. It was founded in a modern time, much more recently, by it was a revolutionary founding. And I can totally sympathize with the Jewish desire to have that state. I get it. But because of the way that happened, the people that founded Israel were a bunch of organized crime figures in America, the Jewish mob, that were helping with money and with arms trafficking to get the guns there because they had to have guns. And it was the Rothschild banking family sending a whole bunch of money and getting the declaration in the first place. And then the people that were there, the three different organizations, the Irgun, the Lehi group, and the Haganah, those were the three like paramilitary groups that fought to found Israel, and they're like the heroes of Israel, which I understand the narrative that they're heroes, but when Israel was officially founded, they officially designated Irgun and Lehi as terrorist organizations because they had been bombing civilians. They'd been bombing British civilians. The first official act of terror before they changed the definition was the bombing of the King David Hotel, where these terrorists, these Lehi and Irgun terrorists, a bunch of different groups, the guy who planned that bombing later became the prime minister of Israel. They were bombing civilians. And like, so when those are the groups that are fighting to found that nation, even if all the Jews there are wonderful people, the leadership is inherently composed of these people that have been deeply corrupt for all time.
Like, they know that they've lost control of the media. They know they've lost control of the narrative, and they know that they've lost control of the youth in America. And that at some point, those 70-year-olds watching cable news are going to age out and die, and the people in charge are going to be this generation that has a totally different view of Israel than previous generations. They know that, but then the question becomes like, what do you do with that information? And so I think that there is a part of Netanyahu and the Israeli war cabinet and the Israeli government who are looking at this and going, all right, so we got like 10 more years of this relationship. We got like 10 more years of where the U.S. has our back and we can do whatever we want. And so you could see where the conclusion from that might be, we got to go for it now. Like, if you really do have this greater Israel project, well, right now, under the Trump administration, this is your moment. He has already vowed he's going to do whatever to support Israel. He is totally on your side. You have this administration. There's every last member of this administration supports Israel. So now's the time. Annex Gaza and the West Bank, and parts of Syria too, and whatever else they want to do. So I think they might be going for it, And then I don't know. We'll see. I mean,
when they started bombing Iran, that's what I thought. I was like, oh boy.
Well, they tried to suck Trump into a regime change war there, and it didn't work. But the whole thing, the whole 12-day war. First of all, this thing is not over. We're kind of at like the fundamentals of the conflict are all still there. And in fact, I think there was just a few days ago, like there were a couple like Israeli spokesmen who were already signaling like, we may have to go, see about this again. Netanyahu himself said when him and Trump met in the White House, and it was a really fascinating moment, which, I'm not trying to make too much of, but it was pretty hilarious in a way, like a little microcosm, where they asked Donald Trump at one point, they go, so is that it with Iran? Like, is the war continuing or is it over? And he goes, well, I don't really want to see it continue, but maybe that's a better question for Bibi. And you're like, what? Wait, what? I'm sorry. You're like, well, my boss is right here, so you might as well ask him.